Hey, what's going on, everybody? Back on YouTube again with another random 49er news stream with Bashar, my special guest, my friend, coming to you on a Thursday, just talking 49ers OTAs. We'll get out a little bit of quick news, and then we'll probably just get into the comments and talk to people. Not a big show plan, not a super long, thought out thing, just kind of hitting all the high notes of OTAs and recent 49er news. Before we do any of that, how you doing, Bashar?
Doing awesome. Thank you for having me on. A little hot out here today over in Northern California, but other than that, yeah, just doing good. Not too much going on these days, but there's a little bit going on with the 49ers, and it's always great to talk Niners. So thank you.
Absolutely. Before we do anything, this is the first time I've worn anything red or gold or close to this, any 49er really related stuff since the Super Bowl loss. So this is me saying that I think I'm ready to finally move on, even though I probably haven't yet. So for anybody who's been worried that I was stuck in February, I recently found out that it's almost June. So I figured I'd join the rest of the world. Not a ton of news, but some big news that happened yesterday. A real important cog to this offense in the run game and on third downs. Juwan Jennings gets paid 2 years, up to 15.4 million, 10.5 guaranteed. If you got a chance to go watch the video of him, he is so happy. There's some players that I fall out of love with really quickly, like Javon Kinlaw or just anybody that really doesn't produce and talks a lot. And then you got a guy like Juwan Jennings, who's the epitome of team player. Not the fastest guy. Really is a really a big time. I think he's a third down threat. I think he's kind of the guy you go to if you need a big completion. And so the Niners sign him, and they have him at least through the end of the 2025 season. Part of this, kind of last dance that everybody's talking about. What's your thoughts on Mr. Juwan Jennings getting, I guess you could say, the bag? To a person like me and you, that's definitely the bag. But for an NFL player, maybe not so.
Well, it's definitely the bag for a guy who was the third option. Now, keep in mind, I didn't check salaries and pay increases for third option receivers across the league. But yeah, I mean, who would have known that a guy drafted in the 7th round would be getting paid this much? So, but at the end of the day, he's produced. Seemed like he got off to a bit of a slow start this past season, but I've always liked Juwan Jennings. Third and Juwan or third and Jennings, whatever you want to call him. And it's weird because his style of play, it's like he ran a super slow 40. He's not a fast guy. Never looks fast, but he finds ways to make people miss. He finds ways to get extra yardage. The 49ers love it when the receivers can get those yak yards. Makes tough catches. He's about 6'3". He plays a bit bigger than his height would tell you. I don't know how long his arms are, but he's the kind of guy you could throw 50-50 balls up to. He's tough. He's got a nice stiff arm. He just has the heart, and he's everything you want in a receiver. And hey, he literally could have been the Super Bowl MVP, perhaps. Yeah, we won. We were very close to winning. So, a lot of people don't want me to bring that up. Super that game.
You had to do that to me. I was doing okay.
I had one job.
You had one. Yeah, you inside joke. But yeah, he was having a really good Super Bowl, and it's when you were talking about it, that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, if they would have won, he would have been Super Bowl MVP. What a great story that would have been. So, but it's nice to see a good person and a good player get rewarded. He is, this 49er wide receiving core is, an interesting mix of different types of players. You have kind of essentially a running back playing wide receiver in Debo, kind of a smash mouth Percy Harvin. You have the route runner in Ayuk, a guy that can really put the stanky leg on a DB and get open and all that stuff. And he's in the process of some things getting paid. Then you have a guy like Juwan Jennings, who's essentially a possession receiver, if you really want to break it down. And now this Ricky Parasol, we don't know what he is, but he kind of gives me Dante Pettis vibes, but like a masculine, like totally committed to football, not cats, Dante Pettis. So
I know Dante, sad if you give him a Pettis comparison.
I know. I'm sorry. If I ever have a chance to, be a sellout YouTuber, I'll have him on my YouTube channel, and I'll apologize to him for comparing him to such a puss. But I'm just I'm just throwing names out there.
The bar low, so you're not going to be disappointed as far as things go with his career. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's almost a guarantee that you won't be disappointed with his career because you set
I
the
mean,
bar. Really.
yeah, there's a lot of. I don't really like get excited about OTAs. I don't know about you, but I don't. You got Grant Cohn coming out and making videos about Brock Purdy having a rough camp, and I'm like, who cares? It's May. Whatever narrative you want to completely pound into people consistently, you and whatever group of people that you roll with, that just have this inability to just kind of give Brock Purdy his flowers and his props, and we have to keep pounding people over the head with the same tired, you know, Brock Purdy's okay, he's good, but he's not elite. We're still doing that, and it's May. Like, who cares? That whole team isn't here. There's no pads on. There's no game planning. They're not running. Full steam ahead. I don't even know if it's installation time when that actually happens, but I'm just glad a guy like Juwan Jennings. There's always a lot of questions, especially after the Super Bowl ended. And I know I was depressed. You look at the team and you say, okay, what version of this team's coming back next year? It's really sad that they didn't win it. Can they make another run? And it looks like for the most part they got the same team, other than maybe like Eric Armstead, Kinlaw, to essentially make another run at it. So I'm glad he's back in the building for at least 2 more years, or 2 more seasons. And it kind of spills into the next kind of non-topic. Juwan, Eric, Brandon Ayuk, excuse me, people, still not signed. A lot of non-stories, people saying it's going to be a long time, and then you have somebody say it could be soon. Like, I don't care. I don't know about you, Bashar, but like, these non-stories things is just to get to me. Then there's really no news, and they keep recycling stuff. Just let me know when he's signed. That's all I care about.
Same here. I'm not one to check Twitter feeds day in and day out if he's signed or not. I know he'll eventually sign, but it is dragging on, and other teams are signing their guys, and and when they sign their guys, it's like, oh, whoa, Brandon Ayuk just got a raise, and he didn't even know it. He was probably sleeping when that other player signed, But yeah, it is nerve wracking. Some people say, I don't know how it works out with the salary cap, but some people are saying like, oh, well, they have to wait till this date when the cap money for Armstead clears up, blah 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 blah. I don't know if that's what they're waiting for. I just want a deal to get done, but then again, I'm not going to sit there and pause my entire life just because they haven't gotten the deal done right this moment. I
Yeah,
think eventually it will happen. So.
the season doesn't start till September, so I'm not really concerned if he's not in OTAs. I really don't care if a lot of my stars aren't in OTAs, to be honest with you. I don't want them getting hurt and stuff that's 4 months before the season starts. So my whole thing with the Ayuk situation is that the longer the 49ers seem to wait, they tend to do this to themselves. The more they have to pay. I mean, it I think it's Amaron St. Brown. Amon.
AMLON.
Okay, so the guy from what team is he from? I forget.
He's on the Lions.
Okay, so he got paid, and Jalen Waddle just got paid on the Dolphins, which my brother is very happy for. He's another really good player that deserves it. Because I pay attention to Dolphins games when I'm not watching Niner games.
Okay, when you're done, I have a question for you
about those. No, go ahead.
Okay, because I know where I rank these guys, but I'll tell you where I rank them, and I'll probably agree with you. But where do you fit Ayuk in with those other two guys mentioned?
I think Ayuk is better than Jalen Waddle. Just overall, I think Waddle's got a lot more speed. Of course, he's a fast guy. It's tough to say because we don't have that 2024 NFL passing game. We're still running the West Coast offense of the late 90s when the Broncos took it over, like that version. It's run heavy, run first, play action, a lot of boots and misdirections and all sorts of orbit motion and all this other stuff that's distracting. The Niners don't have what you consider a traditional drop back passing game. And with that being said, I think that hurts Ayuk not only when he's judged by his peers, but when you're trying to pay him, it's like, okay, there's two sides of it. You could say, well, he doesn't have the production to quantify a massive deal. And then on his side, they could say, well, you don't use him the right way. So promise to use him and we'll sit down at the table and try to figure something out here. So it's really hard to judge him. I'd say he's technically, if you think about it, he's probably better than both of them all around as a receiver. Like I said, he doesn't have the speed, but he definitely has the route running ability. But the Niners just don't use him. They don't use him the way even was it the new guy and the Minnesota guy? Is it Jefferson?
Justin Jefferson. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just even he was even more of a traditional receiver. So I mean, we'll see. He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid close to $30 million. The Niners don't really have a choice. Man, they have to pay everybody. It seems like now. So they're at a point right now where like this deal, I think, as far as the Armstead money goes, I think that it does have a lot to do with why they haven't signed him yet. But the waiting does actually hurt the 49ers more than it helps them. I don't understand why they have to wait it out so long, but yeah, it's hard for me. To me, I know you want like kind of a clear answer of where I rank them. It's really hard to say.
For me, I'll take Amon-Ra St. Brown over Ayuk. As good as Ayuk is, as much as I like him, as much as I defended him when we drafted him and defended him in terms of certain 49er fans were whining and bitching and moaning that we didn't draft CD Lamb when we drafted this guy they never heard of. Well, guess what? I heard of Brandon Ayuk before we drafted him, and I actually wanted him coming out in the draft. So, and I do like Ayuk a lot. I defend him, but it does kind of suck though because you see him play, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't think he's worth that much money. When you think of those salaries, you think of quarterback type salaries, but then again, the league has evolved, and this is where salaries are heading. The NFLPA is going to push for all these big time salaries. So that's just how it works out. It's how the business works out. And Amon-Ra St. Brown obviously got his bag. He's an amazing player, and Ayuk's going to ask for the same or something similar. And I do have Ayuk above Jalen Waddle. Like you mentioned, Jalen Waddle is faster. But yeah, Ayuk, I just see him as more of an overall receiver. I totally see him as that. What's up, Jess from East Coast Red and Gold Podcast? I'm assuming that's you. I know that's your channel.
Oh, they had Jeff Garcia on yesterday. I thought
they did. I missed that.
Yeah, way to go, Jess. Way to go, Jess. Way to go, East Coast Red and Gold team. Yeah. That's awesome.
When I did my go ahead.
I was in the chat. I said he's my favorite fellow 49er ginger quarterback because he's the only one. And then I said his play. I made a comment that said his play kind of reminds me of Purdy in a way, just as in his ability to kind of get loose and make throws. You know what I mean? Not necessarily as a runner or as an actual quarter. Just I don't know. He's elusive. He was elusive as a quarterback, and he could move around. And Brock has a little bit of that. And he's not the biggest guy, neither is Brock. So
yeah, there's some similarities.
Yeah, he was a ginger too, so I had to, of course,
bring Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's a 49er ginger quarterback.
Yeah, he sucks. He's not with the 49ers anymore.
I know he was. I was saying he was.
Brandon, she's got all the connections. Love this. Oh, it was great. Yeah.
What do you mean by love the Grecian? I'm missing.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, Garcia's segment.
Oh, misprint. I was like,
is that Brandon? The Brandon I know? Brandon Ferrigno? Is that a different Brandon? Not sure.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was to say that was just really cool. I saw the advertisement for it, and he was actually he's all white now. His beard is all white. Always one of my favorite 49er guys as far as he was just talking about a lot about the younger players. He's the type of guy who would love to pass on knowledge to the younger players if they want to listen, but he was making a good point about how players are like, it's all about a brand now. Everybody's a brand. It's not like before in the past. Yeah, everybody's all about their money and their brand, and it's different. Players don't always listen to the old guard. They look at us. They look at them as dinosaurs. I would soak up all the knowledge in the world if I was a young player coming to the NFL, but that's me.
Yeah, Garcia actually. Side note: Jeff Garcia actually shared he shared my song on his Instagram feed a while back. when I made that that rap song that I did, who's going to the game with my fake E40 voice. He made it basically on his Instagram story. He had a video of his daughter dancing in the car to the song that I made. It was pretty funny. I was like, oh, look at that. So yeah, shout out to Jeff Garcia for doing that. And I really, really admired him, liked him as a player. I wish he would have been our quarterback for longer.
Yeah.
The team imploded, unfortunately, at the time, and we were on a pretty nice streak and a nice we were moving upwards, but then the locker room blew up and then the TO thing happened and the coach sucked. Then when they brought in the crappy coach, they should have kept Mariucci the whole damn time.
Though too,
Mariucci should have never been fired, dude.
They also they were paying back salary cap from the late 90s.
They were in salary cap hell, yeah.
They were in salary cap hell in the early 2000s. People forget that they had to clear so much. That's why they couldn't re-sign Garcia. That's why they couldn't re-sign Terrell Owens and stuff, and it just fell apart. That was kind of like the last hurrah of that era that was connected sort of to the dynasty. It was kind of the final remnants, Brian Young was still on the team. A couple other players were still on the team, like T.O., of course. And then after that, it was the dark times until Harbaugh came in 2011, and then that was a short and sweet. So we're kind of at the same place now. We touched on it a little bit, but I'll bring it up to you now. Since there's nobody really in here, we're kind of talking to ourselves.
That's okay. That's what we do, right?
Right. I figured we just have a little fun. So it's been talked about a lot on television, and it's been brought up because next year, at the end of next season, we have to look to the future when it comes to Purdy getting paid. So everybody keeps talking about the last dance and that the 49ers are kind of in this last dance mode of this particular group of players. It's been coming a long time, and it sucks that we haven't won the Super Bowl yet. I really don't know what this year is going to bring, but what's your thoughts on that? Do you feel pressure as a fan that this team has to win it this year? Or are you just at this point, after 2 Super Bowl losses, just kind of taking what you get and, whatever happens, happens?
Yeah, I mentioned this last week. Yeah, I really, really like Purdy. If you have a strong foundation with your quarterback, as we do with Brock Purdy, I truly believe that there's a little bit of there's a minority of naysayers within the 49er fan base community. And it's pretty sickening, in my opinion, that they don't ride with Brock Purdy. I think Brock Purdy is the man. I think a lot of people think that he has an opportunity to get better even this year and even the year after. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this. To enjoy the ride with Brock Purdy as our quarterback. And mentioned it last week, it won't surprise me if he makes it back to the Super Bowl at least 2 times in his career. I could just picture him hoisting up a Lombardi trophy. Not sure what year it's going to happen. It could be, this upcoming season. Who knows? But I mean, Logan Ryan touched on it too. I forgot who it was that I was interviewing, but he said that he thinks it's the 49ers year, this actual year. Thinks their window is right now, and yeah, he's excited about this team. And yeah, it sucks to lose. It was Logan Ryan on Colin Cowherd to clear that up. If anybody watched it, and sure, it's that we're going to lose some players in the future. Everybody knows this. I just hope that we can draft well and hit on some more picks like we did in the past. Hopefully, for example, in terms of our linebacking core, we did draft D. Winters. We drafted Jalen Graham. We drafted this other guy from Florida State this year. And hopefully at least one of those guys pans out and steps in. And, just because the 49ers kind of turned into linebacker U of the NFL, if you think about it, And so just in general, though, I mean, sure, we aren't drafting much for O-line, but hopefully find a way to develop some O-line because I really, really want to protect this quarterback. Looks like you mentioned the whole thing of the wide receivers, though, as far as us running West Coast offense where we focus heavily on the run game. Certain people are speculating that could change a bit and Brock Purdy could graduate more into a more advanced role now that he's going to have more targets to throw to, that you may see a lot more shotgun, you may see a lot more spread in general. And, as look at Tom Brady when he first came to, I don't want to say Brock Purdy's Tom Brady, but when Brock Purdy first came to New England, it was a little bit more easy peasy in the beginning, but eventually he graduated and so he stepped into the next level. So we may see more of that on this Niner team. They really like what they see with Jacob Cowing in the OTAs.
Yeah.
Pearsall, the guy's got sticky hands. They threw him some crazy pass in OTAs, and he just reached up and grabbed it with one hand like it was nothing. And yeah, I mean, sure, you lose the Super Bowl, and you may think, oh, it's over. That's it. That's done. But again, I love what I see in Purdy, and as long as you have that franchise type quarterback, it shouldn't be the end of it. And then he's just scratching the surface. I seriously think Purdy's just scratching the surface, and we should see a lot of great things from him in the future. And hopefully, we continue to draft well and just make some good signings for a change too. I know we're giving out these big time salaries, but the salary cap will eventually go up too in the future, and we'll see how that goes. And we don't have to sign everybody either. I saw some video where somebody was bitching and moaning that we may not sign Ambry Thomas. Okay, he can be expendable. So yeah, can't guarantee that we're going to be good for the next 10 years or anything like that, but I do see some more good years coming.
Yeah, depending on who you listen to, there's the people that are gloom and doomers. They're not really 49er fans. They just, they put out spicy takes, and they have kind of a following, a cult following, whether it's other content creators that are kind of in the mix. They kind of share the old, they're not really Niner fans. They're more or less, they just try to aggravate the emotions of 49er fans by always bringing up like super deep topics instead of just kind of appreciating the team and loving the team. And a lot of that even now is, they still aren't sold on Purdy. They're still not sold on Purdy. We were talking about this off air where there's just this overwhelming still this like non-belief in after 2 years that like he's just not the guy, and then that the wheels are going to fall off eventually, and that the Niners are going to suffer for it. And listen, Trey Lance era is over. Trey Lance's career may be over soon in the National Football League. So a lot of those people, they run with that kind of stuff. Hey, a lot of those people are really successful YouTubers that get a lot of views and make a lot of money off of YouTube. So apparently a lot of people like to get their emotions messed with and like to interact with that sort of kind of zesty 49er takes. Unlike, some of us boring people that, just kind of love the team and love everything about it. I just think Purdy is going to be here for a long time. And I'm not going to fault the 49ers for building a team around him and trying to give him weapons. This whole thing where he has to prove it with no weapons jargon. I've never heard so many moving goalposts for a quarterback that he has to keep proving all these different things. And then once he does that, and then there's a new goalpost that's set in front of him, instead of just saying like, okay, he's not Patrick Mahomes. Who is, right? Like, we're living in the Patrick Mahomes era, just like we lived in the Brady era, just like people lived in the Montana era. Like, you might have been a really good quarterback. Like Elway was really good. Marino was really good. All these guys are really good, but they just happen to play in the same era as the greatest of all time. And Mahomes is one of those guys. It doesn't take away from the fact that Purdy's an awesome, awesome quarterback. And you made a good point. Like, they have to hit on some of these draft picks. If they hit on a Cowing and they hit on a Pearsall, you can move on from a Debo. You can move on from a Kittle, because those guys are getting old and they are often really injured all the time. So this is kind of an important, this last season and this season, I think is super important with the 49ers as far as hitting on draft picks, building, keeping a nucleus together that's going to change, and then moving forward little by little. I mean, people are getting older, but as long as John, Kyle, and Purdy are here, I have a lot of, I would say, like, unbridled or blind faith, but I definitely am. I'm in a good mindset. I think they're gonna, and as long as Jed is here too, Jed's not going to settle for having a team that's going to be like 2-14 and not making the playoffs. So I'm pretty. I wouldn't say satisfied, but I'm pretty hopeful and encouraged as long as those guys are around.
He's pretty hopeful.
I'm pretty hopeful, but how you doing?
Yeah. I was going to ask something, see what you were going to say.
Oh, go ahead. Go right ahead.
My mind. Yeah, maybe it'll come back later.
What was I going to ask you?
I remember the goalpost thingy. Yeah.
Yeah, the goalposts are always moving.
That was like going back and forth with people on social media, like about about Brock Purdy's success and them denying his success each and every time. Like, what do you want? Do you want like a quarterback that's damn cyborg that never makes a damn mistake in his life?
They
Look at
want, yeah,
Go ahead.
they
Look at
want
Purdy
Josh
last year.
Allen from the Bills. That's what they want.
Yeah, well, they could have him then. With all the picks that he throws, with the way he messes up in the playoffs. So I almost sounded like Jim Mora playoffs, but yeah. I was gonna say about Purdy. What's not to like in the guy? And the guy freaking had half his elbow torn off and did barely had any time to recover. But before training camp started, had a miraculous recovery, so he didn't have time to really work on his game. Before, when training camp initially started, he just had time to get healthy. Was what it was. Got healthy way faster than anybody anticipated. And what did he do? He had the best quarterback statistic. He had the best season for any 49er quarterback statistically. But apparently that wasn't enough because he's got Kyle Shanahan. But wait, you're the same guy that told me that Kyle Shanahan sucks. Oh, well, he's got all these weapons and blah 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 blah. And okay, like you said, the goalposts. Like I remember on that touchdown to Brandon Ayuk against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home. Might have been a 75-yarder, something like that. Don't remember the exact yards, but anyways, long story short, to left sideline, Brock Purdy backs up, launches it to Ayuk. Ayuk runs it in for a touchdown. Beautiful, beautiful deep pass. We don't throw the deep ball too often. Beautiful play, beautiful accuracy on the throw. Great catch, and run by Ayuk to the end zone. And somebody literally had the nerve to tell. I was like, oh well, you always bitch and moan that Brock Purdy can't throw the deep ball and blah 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 blah. But what about that touchdown against Tampa Bay? Oh, all Brock did was throw it 20 yards and Ayuk did the rest. Like he literally tried to make it sound like it was one of those Jimmy G behind the scrimmage throws to Debo, where Debo would run a little screen pass and take it all the way. Like dude, that was a fucking deep ball. Like, what do you want? Like it's ridiculous. I don't know why our quarterback is not appreciated by people in our fan base. Doesn't make any sense to me. If they want to go like a quarterback from another team, Mahomes or whoever else, hey, be my guest. Go be a fan of that other team, and see ya. So
I saw another one where I had a video from like last year, and a person had the nerve to say that Joe Montana was overrated as a quarterback. And another person in my comments made a comment about Brock Purdy really isn't that good. He's a scrub. Watch when all the the good players around him go away. There's people that are on YouTube, man. They're delusional. They take other things into consideration with these arguments. Some of it has to do with the color of a quarterback's skin, or the fact that he isn't 6'4" or 220 with a rocket arm. There's all these different narratives that people want to push because they just can't accept the fact that this little Mighty Mouse looking guy who doesn't really look like an NFL quarterback is really as good as they just don't want to give him the props. So listen, I'm a 49er fan through and through. I cheer for the team. I cheer for the symbol, and I cheer for the quarterback. I mean, like if another guy came by, in a couple of years and was better than him and they moved on from Purdy, then I'll cheer for that guy. But to not give him the credit he deserves and try to push this narrative of, he's not elite and, just not enjoying the ride, but always coming up with different reasons to take shots at him. I think it's lazy. I mean, it makes for good content. People love that kind of stuff. A lot of people watch it. So maybe me and you should just join in and just start bashing on Purdy, and maybe the views will go through the roof when we start crapping on the guy. Cause apparently we're doing something wrong here, but,
yeah, I guess so. Maybe, yeah, I'll probably have 100,000 subscribers by then. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I mean, I honestly, I have Brock Purdy in the top 10 of NFL quarterbacks. You can make that any number you want. I'm not saying he's number one in the NFL. I'd say at the highest, he'd probably be, if depending on what your scale is, maybe be top 5 on a good day.
Yep.
But I probably got Brock Purdy like a top 8, maybe, or top 7, or right around that bubble. On a bad day, every quarterback has bad games, but I think Brock Purdy had his little stretch, but he definitely bounced back. He definitely bounced back from his little bad streak of games, and Debo Samuel was talking about Brock Purdy and just saying that he admires his confidence in the huddle, like. And people think like, oh, big deal. What is being in the huddle can do? Like that's everything. I mean, if you think about how I'm going to go back to Joe Montana. Of course, I'm not trying to make the parallel
I
comparison.
knew where you were going with
I
this
know, but
immediately.
like, hey, look, there's like against the Cincinnati Bengals on the game-winning drive for the Super Bowl, like. Brock Purdy, Joe Montana looks at Harris Barton and he's like, hey, look, there's John Candy in the stands or whatever in the huddle. Just whatever he did in the huddle to lighten everybody up and get everybody ready for the next set of plays worked. So, hey, I welcome this Purdy run again. And at the end of the day, I do welcome if we had a more dominant, better quarterback that stepped in that was able to beat out Purdy. Okay, cool. Because that means we would probably have the best, or if not the second best quarterback in the league then, and we'd have better chances of winning Super Bowls. So, sure. I mean, again, I'm a 49er fan through and through. Players come and go, names change, and all that. That always happens. But for now, Purdy's the guy, dude, and he's impressed me. We were talking about Jeff Garcia, and as much as Jeff Garcia impressed me, I'd take Purdy over Garcia. I honestly would. For a short period of time, Kaepernick looked impressive, but in general, I definitely take Purdy over him. Jimmy G looked impressive in the very beginning, and I definitely take Purdy over him too. So, yeah, it's early, but I just think that the way what he does in terms of his success, the way he diagnoses blitzes and just reads coverages and processes things, and he does a lot of those things for the most part at elite level. Not, I wouldn't say every single game he does it at elite level because there get a couple of hiccups every now and then, but for the most part, in general, he does a lot of elite things that people who really know football will tell you. And it's not about throwing the ball 80 yards down the field or whatever. That play is so overrated in my opinion in the NFL because teams and safeties, they know how to guard that so much better in the NFL than teams ever did in college. So yeah, I'm not worried about him not launching the ball, throwing the ball 80 yards, 70 yards down the field 5 times a game. Like these
Go look at Man Talk Sports, Mandy. Everybody, the guy does a lot of 49er satire. He picks on content creators and stuff. He's really funny. He's awesome. You guys need to check him out. And I don't know him from Adam. I just thought he made a video comparing I don't know if he compared Purdy and Mahomes, or he showed all of Mahomes' touchdowns, and other than like a couple of them, they were all plays that Brock Purdy could make. People were trying to, oh, he's so elite, he makes all these amazing throws, but a lot of stuff that he did last year, Mahomes, was essentially the same stuff that Brock is doing. So I thought it was a cool breakdown. If you get a chance, I don't know exactly where it is on his channel, but he did a little bit of like a comparison of, or he tracked all his touchdown passes. I just think it's weird that like we're going into our third season with them at the helm, second really as the starting quarterback again. And people are so worried about everything else but what's important. And I think it's crazy to not enjoy the ride as my internet starts to dip. Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's StreamYard. My internet was working great, and before I got on the StreamYard site, they have issues with their network. Shout out to Jimmy. What's up, Bash and Aaron? Good to see you around. And yeah,
For the few of you that are actually in here, thanks for coming through.
Yes, sir. And I'll touch on this. One time I did out of curiosity, pull up a video of Patrick Mahomes' greatest deep throws of his career. And I sat back and watched. I'm like, okay, because people always talk, oh, Purdy doesn't throw it deep enough and blah, 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 blah. And I watched it and like, I've seen Brock Purdy's deepest throws. Sometimes they are about 35 yards, sometimes 37 yards in the air yards, that is. And I'll watch a Mahomes deep throw, and sure, the ball will have a higher trajectory, so to speak, right? The ball will look like it's about to hit the roof of the whatever dome or ceiling they're playing in. But at the end of the day, like the deepest Patrick Mahomes deep ball will have about 5 more air yards than what Purdy throws. It's not that big of a deal, is what I'm trying to say. Like, and we hit so many deep crossing routes too in this offense. Those are 20+ yard throws, and those are teams that are that are backbreakers to NFL defenses. And those teams, those throws are very, very important. And I just think that the deep ball in general is just so overhyped and overrated. And some fans, because they see and it's exciting and it's amazing, that they just put way too much stock into it, I think.
Yeah, it's It's like chicks dig the deep ball or the home run, and apparently they also dig the deep pass too. There was a little bit of news that came out about George Kittle last year suffering from a core muscle injury for about 10 weeks. This kind of goes back into our previous topic before about this being the last ride. One, are you surprised that he was hurt again? And two, what I mean, when you look at him and you look at how he's used and you look at his just how his body is broken down, kind of like almost like a Gronk. I mean, how much longer do you think this Kittle thing can go? Do you think he's still productive enough to keep him around at least maybe through this season, maybe next, before eventually moving on from him? Am I just, tired of his goofy antics and his brand and him not winning? Maybe I'm just a little bit of an old curmudgeon-y guy. What's your overall thought on it?
Wait, you're saying Kittle is hurt now? I kind of didn't get what you said in the beginning about him being hurt.
He was out. Through last season, he had about 10 weeks where he was suffering from a core muscle injury.
Oh, okay, got it.
He played through it.
Yeah, I mean I admire NFL players that do play through tough injuries. But it is alarming that he kind of tends to be on the injury prone side from time to time. I get that part. I'm not going to necessarily question his toughness. The guy is a killer when it comes to blocking. I love it when he makes plays down the field and the passing game and gets touchdowns. I just wish I'd see more of him as red zone threat. It seemed like him and Purdy had a great connection the year prior, so to speak. My biggest complaint about George Kittle is when he, because he was on the sidelines in that previous Chiefs Super Bowl and said, he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be back. Y'all be back with a mother effing vengeance." Meaning he's gonna come back to the Super Bowl. And next time he comes back to the Super Bowl, he's gonna ball out and do this and do that. And it was super disappointing that George Kittle did not make his presence felt on the field. Now, if you're not getting enough targets, then you get on the sidelines, and I'm not saying that you're going to ruin the team's chemistry or anything, but you tell Brock Purdy on the sidelines that you need the damn ball in your hands, or you tell Kyle Shanahan on the sidelines that you need the damn ball in your hands. Did you see how fiery Kelsey was when when there was a fumble on the field and he wasn't in on that play, and he almost knocked Andy Reid on his ass in the damn Super Bowl? When I saw that, I probably brought this up multiple times in other streams too, maybe on this one, but like when I saw Kelsey with that fiery edge to him, to the point where he bumped into his coach really, really hard, I got scared because, like, damn, dude, these guys are telling me that, well, at least Kelsey's telling me that he wants to fucking win. He wants to win more than we do. Because I didn't see any player that was pissed off and fiery on our squad. And I wish George Kittle would have brought that energy. I keep hearing, "Oh, well, they left him back there to block. Like, no, dude, I saw him out there running routes too, and he just needs to be more vocal and more demanding with the ball. Then he's a great player once he has the ball in his hands. And he's made plenty of plays down the field in his 49er career, and he's up there. He's at times he is the second best tight end in the league. There are times when he goes off that he looks better than any tight end in the league, in my opinion. And we all know he does block better than Kelsey, but in those big games, I definitely want to see Kittle step up.
Yeah, it was. I felt the same way seeing him get angry, Kelsey, in that game. There was so much jiving and goofing around with Kittle, and it's great that he's loose and he plays loose and he has fun. But Kelsey's won 2 Super Bowls and he's still acting as if like he's never sniffed victory. So I was that happening, and then the fumble and him not going for it and being playing around, and just that, I don't know, man. You're right. There's not a lot of guys on the 49ers sideline that go out there and ask for the football and get pissed off and have a sense of urgency. It's almost like everything's going to work itself out all the time. Kind of like, that quote where Kittle was talking about, when they ask us at the end of the game and we're going to say, yeah, they had us in the first half, blah, 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 in the NFC Championship game. Yeah. And it's like, that's great and everything, but be part of the comeback, be part of the story. Kittle, to me, I loved him for a long time on this team, but I look at him and Debo, and it's like, I love their presence. I love how they play, but there's a part of me that's like, how much more can you take from a person that misses so much time and is never really 100%, and they play so hard to their own detriment? And I don't know. The Niners, like we said before, they don't run a traditional offense, so the guys aren't used traditionally. But at the same time, like, it's the Super Bowl. I mean, as soon as Greenlaw went out with that fluke injury that I'll never get over because it was so fluke.
Oh, that
I mean,
was
Fred Warner couldn't cover anybody to save his life.
I thought it was Burks that was getting messed over the whole time.
Yeah.
I saw Burks getting roasted, and I was like, why does Wilkes have freaking Oren Burks on Kelsey? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get it. But
the Greenlaw was the we talk about emotion and about people that play hard.
Oh, yes.
When Greenlaw went out of that game, we were toast. Greenlaw is
my heart sunk the moment he got hurt. The moment he got hurt, my heart sunk, and that negative, sad feeling did not leave me during the game. It was very hard for me to enjoy that game, even though there were times where we had the lead and we were winning, and up until the end. I'm not sure what this guy means by this comment. If you want to elaborate,
it's a Family Guy. It's strong on Paperboy. It's the old man that used to always go after Chris. Hey there, Paperboy.
I don't watch Family Guy. I've only watched it.
He's a creepy old man that goes after Chris, one of the main characters in the show.
But Charles is an old time. Who's he referring to though?
The guy. He's talking to whoever the Paperboy was in Family Guy.
I know, but it just looks like he's making a parallel with.
No, he's just messing with me. He's just messing with me.
Okay.
He's he lives in Kansas. I think he's from Missouri or Kansas. He's in wherever he lives, and like he just he comes in once in a while and just likes to make little cracks. So I appreciate the humor, man. It means a lot. Got Sentinel in here. Salute 49ers first.
What up, Sentinel? What up?
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It's been a Herbert the Pervert. Thank you very much, Leon Sandcastle.
Yeah, Sandcastle.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So he is from Missouri. He was actually okay. So they bust my chops. They always say "Go Chiefs." When he was actually pissed. He said when the Niners didn't win the Super Bowl. A lot of people were pulling for me.
Wait. Who said "Go Chiefs"?
Charles.
So he's a Chiefs fan, but he was mad.
No, he's not a football fan at all.
Oh, okay.
Him and another guy. These are all gaming buddies from Xbox. They like to bust my chops about football. But my own uncle, who's a Bills fan, who I never talked to,
Uncle Rico.
No, my Uncle Bill. He lives in California. He was so upset, or he was so like, they hate the Chiefs because they're Bills fans, even though he lives in California. All these Bills fans DM'd me before the Super Bowl saying, "I'm pulling for your team. I'm pulling for your team." It was so dissatisfying when they lost, because it was like, I would have gotten so much love, not only from, 49er fans, but from fellow, football fans, Bills fans. So I want to jump onto a topic that was brought up. I forgot who brought it up, actually. He was making a point why the 49ers don't emphasize offensive line. And he says it's because the 49ers emphasize playmakers and people who touch the ball. I know you're big on offensive line, and you've been kind of upset that we've kind of gone away from drafting any offensive lineman high early in the draft. What do you take away from this, that it's it's all about the playmakers and getting guys the ball and less to do with the offensive line and the blocking? I don't really sign up for this particular mindset, because I feel like if you have a bad offensive line, you can't get the ball to your playmakers. So let me know how you think.
Too. That's exactly how I felt during the Super Bowl. It didn't help that Deebo Samuel was getting blanketed and he wasn't getting proper separation in the Super Bowl. I don't know if you're going to blame that on his hamstring or you're just going to blame it on poor play. Case in point, they drafted two guys who probably could separate better than Deebo. They're definitely probably better route runners, I'd say, than Deebo. Which Jacob Cowing and obviously Ricky Pearsall, who runs the whole entire route tree. It is. I just hate I have this nightmare of that damn play where Spencer Burford just let Chris. I hate having to mention this play.
He's ruined 2 Super Bowls for us. 2, not 1.
But he wasn't. Burford wasn't in the first one though. He wasn't in the
Doesn't matter.
division Super
Chris
Bowl.
Jones has owned our ass.
Oh, you mean Chris Jones? Yes,
Yeah.
he has. Because Chris Jones made his presence felt in the towards the end of that third quarter in the first time we played him, and definitely in the fourth quarter. He just kept batting down passes on key downs, and I think I told you guys when I was on with you and Raj and Ted. There was this one guy on Twitter, if he's watching, the Real Niner Mike. He went off. He screamed his head off at how ridiculously stupid it was for a professional offensive lineman on the right, playing right guard, to not see Chris Jones, out of all people, this huge, gigantic, menacing defensive tackle who is the best D tackle in the league right now, since there's no more Aaron Jones, and you just forget. How do you forget all about him? I'm not gonna scream my head off like that guy did, but I don't get it. You know what? Chris Jones is right here. Let me shift all the way over to where the center is and double team that guy, because that's who we're worried about. No, you worry about this big, huge, all-pro guy in front of you. And he didn't have to knock him on his ass. He didn't have to pancake him. All he had to do was just make some general contact with him for half a second. Boom, TD, pick your poison. Juwan Jennings in the corner, or you could cross the middle. But whatever, it's hindsight's 2020. But they ran so many damn blitzes on us in that damn Super Bowl. Steve Spagnuolo, who I hate, but when I say I hate him, it means I'm actually giving him respect and props, because he drove me crazy watching that game with all those crazy freaking blitzes that he was running. And usually Purdy's excellent against the blitz, and usually the offensive line does a much better job of picking up blitzes to give Purdy just a little bit more time. But it was to the point where you could have had Joe Montana back there and he wouldn't have had enough time to get the ball off, even though he does have a quick release and he does make quick reads. You could have put Tom Brady back there at times and it would have been the same thing. So, and I don't understand this philosophy. Is like, do they just think we have faith in our offensive lineman, our offensive line coach, Chris Forrester, and he feels that he can make if you give him
salad out of chicken shit.
Or if you give him the lowest quality meat, he can make it taste like freaking filet mignon at a 5-star steakhouse or something.
Right.
They have this arrogance where they could just take these random so-so players and make them serviceable and not have to pay them high contracts. And I do get that. You do get bigger name offensive linemen in there, and you do have to pay them higher contracts. I understand that. We do tend to shell out way more money for the D-line than we do for our offensive line, it seems like. But at the end of the day, dude, it's all about the players. They can't throw me out there. I played offensive line in high school, and they'd be like, oh, let's throw him out there because Chris Forrester is the offensive line coach. And we were more about drafting ball carriers and guys who run the ball and catch the ball. I just hope this addition of Pearsall and Cowing in our offense, along with Juwan Jennings and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, God willing, they sign Brandon Ayuk. I have a good feeling they will. I mean, that on paper, if those two rookies pan out, will make our passing game deadly. Yeah. And especially if Kittle comes to life in big games, in the playoffs when it matters, that is. So, I mentioned it earlier. A lot of people are mentioning you may see a different type of 49er offense this time around. So we'll see.
Sentinels had 3 awesome comments, so I want to read them all. Hey, and if you're on Twitter, jump over to YouTube. It helps out the channel a lot. Appreciate you jumping on Twitter to watch the stream, but if you're on Twitter, jump over to the YouTube channel. Or X. Yeah. Help come over to the channel. It's been slim pickings lately with the YouTube thing, and if he helps support the channel and come watch me and Bash do our thing on here, it'd be really, really appreciated. So he said, Tom Brady said something about offensive lines. He said, the reason I did so well for so many years was because my O-line was so good. He said he was emphasizing the importance of offensive line and went almost nerd-like about it. But he's absolutely right. And he says it's a football version of dancing around the main issue, ignoring the giant, he didn't say giant, but I'll add it, the giant elephant in the room, so to speak. Yeah, it's like Kyle Shanahan, that ego of his. We've talked about this before. Other Niner fans have talked about this before. I'm sure, everybody's favorite guy, Grant Cohn, has talked about this. Even Mandy, Man Talk Sports, has talked about how
everybody's favorite content creator.
Yeah, he was talking about different empires, the Roman Empire and this and that, and talked about how and
the Niner Empire
and how they crumbled and because the Niners, think that they're smarter than everybody and always are going to outwit you and out scheme you. But when it comes down to it, you need to have an offensive line that can block. And the Niners, for some reason, just refuse to dress offensive line any later than say like the 4th round or 5th round.
And can you believe that Colton McKivitz was? Remember they talk about pre-draft. They said we have certain prospects on our draft board that are gold helmet prospects, and McKivitz, when drafted, was a gold helmet prospect. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
They have a lot higher grade on him than we do. That's for sure. They think the interior offensive line is actually more of the issue, and maybe it is. Is Brendel super? Does he instill a lot of confidence in you, Bashar? It doesn't to me.
Not to me.
Does Spencer Burford, not
Spencer
Buford,
Burford,
does he instill a lot of confidence in you? I'd rather have Feliciano at center and the new guy Pooney at right guard. Okay, Aaron Banks at left guard, tackle Trent Williams, Colton McKivitz. I'll take that offensive line. Is it gonna stop Chris Jones? Probably not, but we can take our shot again if we can get to the Super Bowl.
Depth wise, we're not bad at O-line. I think depth wise, in terms of second team O-line, we're actually pretty good. But it's the front, it's for the first team that we're a little worried about. You know what I mean? Or a lot worried about, depending on who we play.
We're pretty deep all around in the team. I think offensive line really is our biggest weakness. But we did address playmakers. We did address bringing in guys that touch the ball. I think it was Chris Forrest said he doesn't really have a say on the Niners philosophy, but he thinks that the Niners, they emphasize getting the ball to playmakers. And that's essentially, I think, what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch do. I think also people have to realize that we picked at the end of the first round. Are you going to reach for, I keep seeing this, are you going to reach for a tackle because you need a tackle of the future? If the guy there at the end of the first round, is he capable of beating out Colton McKivitz in his first year? I mean, you have to, if the answer to that question is no, and you're just drafting an offensive lineman for the sake of drafting one, then I kind of understand why they went where they went. Did I think they were going to draft wide receiver? Absolutely not. But if he turns out to be really, really good and you can get rid of Debo and save some money down the road, then go. I'm all for it. Sentinel says that entire O-line besides Trent Williams needs a major overhaul. I'm talking rebuilt transmission type overhaul. Okay, so you're totally not on board with any of the things that I that I brought up as far as Feliciano at center and right guard being puny. But hey, I took my shot. So, and
funny that you call him puny.
puny, whatever. He's a big man. I know. Another thing that's been talked about that's kind of going around camp right now, and again, me and you talked about this earlier about not getting too excited about OTAs in May, is the whole Pearsall being a special player. A lot of people are really high on him. A lot of people say that he's got good chemistry with Brock Purdy in May. Again, helmets, live bullets flying in training camp when they put the helmets on in August when it's hot and people are miserable and all that stuff's going on. Come back to me. When they're running 11 on 11s and Pearsall is getting huge catches against our starting defensive secondary, Travarius Ward and all those guys then come in. Am I excited that he could be something right now in May? Yeah, but am I going to be like, that's it, we're going to the Super Bowl because Pearsall's the guy? Like, you can't, there's no way you can make that assumption.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if anybody's going that far about it, but what I have heard from certain people who have been in camp is that so far he looks like a veteran. So we'll wait. I guess a wait and see approach from this point into, and same thing goes for Jacob Cowing and Jacob, but both of them. But I see them as potentially good, additions to our wide receiver core to make them stronger. So I don't have high hopes for Pearsall because I don't want to set the bar too high for any player. That is, this is just not what I do. But I know I love his hands. There are other things he can work on, sure. But from what I heard, it was he had to work on press coverage coming out of college. The one thing about Pearsall that looked really, really nice, because I know the 49ers tend to get certain players that are in the Senior Bowl. And when I was like, when we first drafted him, I was like, did this guy play in the? I knew who he was, but I didn't know if he played in the Senior Bowl because I didn't watch the Senior Bowl buzz. I was like, did this guy even play in the Senior Bowl? And I went back and watched the some Senior Bowl practices of Pearsall, and he was cooking people in the practices. I mean, he was just in all kinds of drills and just running around people and all different kinds of routes and making catches. Like, okay, he looks like something. I remember Debo doing the same thing when we first drafted Debo. Debo was running circles around people too, and over the practices for the Senior Bowl as well. So again, I do definitely have some optimism, but I'm gonna keep calm about it as well, because you have to do that for rookies. You just can't be overly ecstatic over not seeing anything in a damn real game. Let's see what happens in the real games.
Right. I mean, we were like that when we drafted Debo, and then we drafted
Jalen Hurd. I was let down by
Hurd.
Jalen Hurd.
I was big on Jalen Hurd. He was big. He was strong. He offered something similar to Debo, but in a way larger package.
Yeah, larger body. Package. I mean, people say that like, oh, Jawan Jennings is what we were supposed to have in
like a slower version, maybe.
And Jalen Hurd, but honestly, Jalen Hurd had way more explosion. He was way faster, just even heavier and bigger. It would have been, oh man, we missed out big time with Jalen Hurd's unfortunate injuries. It's really sad. Peter King from Sports Illustrated said when he left practice, and this is with Debo in camp, he said he thinks the 49ers drafted the offensive rookie of the year in Jalen Hurd. And it's unfortunate we didn't get to see what he did, but it is what it is. It's football. It's a rough game, and your body's going to take a pounding, and some bodies just get pounded way too much.
But I just think football, people have to realize that just genetics, sometimes your body's just not meant for physical. I mean, he was having a lot of issues. They had to take him out at running back in college because he was getting concussed all the time.
Well, he asked to be switched to receiver because they kept going at his knees, and he's so damn tall.
Yeah, he was like a 6'4" running back. Yeah, that's kind of large.
Yeah, that's funny.
He might have been even 6'5", closer to 6'5", and it's just too bad. But his body couldn't hold up. He gave it another go, I think, last year or the year before, and
the Patriots last year.
Yeah. So, and then they had a date. It was a story saying he looked good, and then literally like the next day, they're saying he retired from football.
I saw the clip. He caught some big touchdown in practice on the Patriots, and then the next day he retired. So, yeah, he must have had some crazy pains or whatever. And
I think what it is with some guys too is if they're injured, Bash, and the rehab, sometimes it gets to a point where you're just not willing to put the work into rehab to bring your body back. Rehab's tough. I've done physical therapy for the last 4 years, twice for my shoulder, and now on my knee again. Physical therapy is a grind. It sucks. It hurts, and it gets to you. And I think about a guy who has the pressure of a multi-million-dollar contract, and his physical therapy isn't going the way that he thought. He's not getting any better. I mean, that must do a ton on a person's psyche. So, sucks that was made of glass, so to speak. Yeah, off topic, but Mordecai to Gray should be the big connection in camp in preseason. Your college teammates already got that chemistry. And then Sentinel says, Jason Barrett, enough said, great player, his body was the problem, not his mental toughness. Yeah. Did we bring him in last year and he got hurt again?
Mm-hmm. We sure did.
What did he blow out last year?
I forgot. I can't keep track of his injuries. I just can't. I'm not trying
to be mean and laugh, but it's
unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
You literally bring him in, you talk him up, and then he blows out a ligament or tears an Achilles. Like, it's not even funny anymore. It's dumb. I just think that
he just has to officially hang it up. But that's what I would do. It's over. Him. Yeah.
Like, people are like, oh, give him another chance. We got 49er fans that'll be like, he can. Telling you, just bring in, and they start trying to put pieces together and talk about how he'd make the secondary. It's like, dude, it's not going to happen. He can't make it through a practice, let alone a game. It's over with. Speaking of corner, Renardo Green has been the talk of a corner that the NFL or the 49ers could have found their corner of the future, maybe their slot guy or number 3, or maybe Diamador goes to the slot. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Renardo Green.
As we wrap up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's cool. We can talk a little DBs really quick. Yeah. So, again, another time when we were drafted, it was a second round pick, and let's get offensive line. Let's get tackle. Let's get tackle. Oh, we got Renardo Green. And I was literally on a conference call with some buddies that they're big Niner fans. And what two of them are Florida State fans, coincidentally, and one of them's a big DB guy. He's like, oh, no, this guy's has excellent technique and yada, yada, yada. And watch out for him. And I was like, okay. And then, I forgot the guy's name. Who's the LSU receiver that the Giants drafted? New York Giants.
I totally don't know.
Yeah, but I know. Well, anyways, long story short, the guy Malik Neighbors. It was Malik Neighbors, and Renardo Green locked him up. And the guy was drafted super high by the New York Giants this year. He looks like an incredible prospect of wide receiver. It sucks that he went to the Giants actually, but Renardo Green definitely had his share of great games in college at Florida State. Now the knock on him is that he's grabby. Can he fix that? We've had issues with certain DBs in the past.
Yeah,
where they are grabby. What I'm hearing so far in training camps, there's a Grant Cohn's report, his little 2-minute quick analyst. He thinks that Renardo Green is the third best corner on the team. Again, I don't want to move too fast with my Niner fanhood and say, oh, this guy's really, really good. But I'm going to be optimistic too at the same time. But I was too optimistic about Samuel Womack, and I heard such great things about him in mini camps, and he just looked the part, and people was like, "Oh man, the guy looks really built and he's fast," and then he had a one-way ticket to the bench. I'm not saying he could never be good, but Renardo Green, it would be really, really nice if he could add something to the secondary, because it's been a while since we've had 3 corners that are really, really capable, and if he's one of them, I'll definitely welcome it.
And then that really brings you to the point of Charvarius Ward. Niners might not have the money to pay him. If Renardo Green comes in and is that guy, then essentially what you do is you swap out. That's the business of the NFL. You can't keep everybody. Charvarius Ward's been great. Maybe Renardo Green is even better, and the Niners have found themselves their corner for this year and for the future. That's kind of where I'm thinking that's going, because that was kind of the talk when he was drafted, that this could be a Charvarius Ward replacement down the line. So that's why you can't get too close. That's why I don't buy player jerseys other than guys, say like McCaffrey or, like players that are going to be here a long time, a Fred Warner or Kittle or something.
Or former legends or throwbacks type.
Yeah, you can always go your former legends or throwbacks.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And one of the last comments before we get out of here, Leon Sandcastle said, I'm the only one that thinks that we should move on from Mitchell. I'm right there with you. The room is stacked and he gets hurt a lot. I think Schrader is a dog. Really want him to make the 53. Yeah, I'm officially off the Elijah Mitchell bandwagon. He can play when he's healthy. He's just never healthy.
Well, Kyle doesn't have the confidence in him to put him on the field all the time. And we drafted a guy who's freaking 225 pounds, 6'2", ran a 4.3 40, has a 42-inch vertical leap, and I'm going to be really excited to see what Isaac Guerrero can do in a 49er uniform. I'll say that. Yep. I'm not going to set the bar too high, but I just think those measurables and him getting the proper coaching from our coaching staff, and we have a great running back coach, and I think and Shanahan could find cool ways to use him. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, well, me and Bashar might be trying to do this on the regular. We'll do it on my channel, 49ers First Takes. Don't forget to sub to his channel, 49er Minded. I would assume once training camp gets rolling around that both of us will be on YouTube a whole hell of a lot more. And, like I said, it's slim pickings, Twitter, whoever's watching on Twitter, I appreciate it. Like I said, slim pickings for views this time of year. But for those of you who are in the channel and asking questions and talking and interacting, we thank you so, so much. If any other big news drops, like Ayuk being signed, maybe I'll come on here and do a quick little live by myself, or maybe I'll grab Bash and we'll do another one. Who knows? But till next time, everybody, take care, stay safe and healthy, go Niners, and we'll see you down the road. Peace.
Go Niners.